Hey guys, it's Lyric. Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to my channel. Honestly, it's been over 3 months since I have uploaded on here and I'm finally back and I couldn't be happier. I'm so excited to get back on here and just yap on and on and on and on and on about books because that's what I do best, and I love this community we have over here. I love the book community on all the different social media apps, but I absolutely love it over here on YouTube. So I'm so excited to be back in the new year, ready to start fresh and just do what I love with the people I love doing it with. As you can tell by the title, today I'm going to be sharing with you guys kind of like my 2025 TBR. These are not all the books I want to read this year, but they are some of my top priority ones. Also, I decided not to include any new releases that will be coming out in 2025 on this list. All of the books that I will be talking about today are already out. You guys have probably already started hearing about the new releases coming out this year, and I'll probably talk about those later on. And of course, there are a lot of those that I want to read as well, but for this video and for today and for the specific TBR, all of these books are already out. I think for now that's all I have to say in this little intro. Make sure you're following me on Instagram, and if TikTok is still available and hasn't gotten banned yet, follow me over there because that is kind of where I started posting a bunch of book content, and I really love the community over there. I post a lot of updates, bookish quotes, and you kind of get more real-time updates from me on Instagram and TikTok since obviously it's quicker short form content. Okay, let's get into the video. I'm gonna need you guys to keep the openest of minds ever because some of these books I don't even know what they're about. I don't even know what they're about and I want to read them so bad. They're like at the top of my list and all I know is the title. I don't even know the author's name. Some of them are on this list because I have heard from people that I will trust till the day I die when it comes to book recs. They've recommended the book, so I added it to the list. Something I'm really trying to prioritize this year is reading books that I genuinely think I'm going to thoroughly enjoy, because you know when you add books to your TBR you're like, oh, it sounds fun. A lot of these, even if I don't know really what they're about, they are still ones I highly think I'm gonna enjoy, and I really think they are for me. So I tried to be really specific with this list. All of these are ones I think I am really going to love. All right, starting off strong, we have Akawar, or A Court of Winds and Ruin. I should know that. That's so embarrassing. Pause. I'm looking that up right now. I should 100% know that. How do I not know that? Wings in Ruin. Oh my god, that's so embarrassing. A lot of you guys know the ACOTAR series. This is the 3rd book in the series. I did this insane thing where I read ACOTAR and then I read Asimov. I finished Asimov about 1 year and 4 months ago. And I know you're thinking, oh, maybe this series isn't for you, honey. If you finished that book and thought it was a good point to just stop the series, maybe it's not for you. No. That is not the case at all. I finished Asimov and had experienced so many emotions with that book and was so emotionally connected to the characters that I was so scared to read the next book, and that feeling has stuck for over 1 year. And when I tell you I have thought about Asimov, I think about Rhysand every single day. So this year I'm going to just face my fear. It is a huge book. It is literally like this thick. I just pray to God that nothing insane happens to my favorite characters. Because I'm not gonna get through it. I'm not gonna be okay. That is number 1 on my list, and that needs to happen. Please hold me accountable with that one. Okay, next up on this list is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. Honestly, this whole video is just me embarrassing myself and putting myself out there and like showing you guys that I know nothing about what I'm talking about. I think it's a fantasy romance. I don't have any idea what it's about. I've seen the cover multiple times recently. I've seen it more often and I'm always intrigued. I always pick it up and read the back of the book and I still don't really like know what it's about. I don't know what the main character is. It seems like she's kind of poor, but she has like this hidden power thing, and she ends up coming face to face with Death himself and inadvertently reopens a gateway between realms and is transported to a land of ice and snow. Apparently she's the first of her kind to be taken by the Fae. Oh, and it looks like she mistakenly binds herself to a handsome Fae warrior. That's what I'm getting so far of this book. This one I've just seen around and I've seen it more recently. The cover is very intriguing and very pretty to me, so I picked it up the other day from Target Target, and now I just have it, and now I really want to read, even though the way I just made it sound does not sound that exciting. I'm excited to read it, so it's on my list for this year. Next up is Leather and Lark by Bryn Weaver. This is the second book in the Ruinous Love. I'm not sure if it's going to be a trilogy or a duology, but the first book was Butcher and Blackbird, and I had such a fun time reading that one. It's like a dark romance, but it's lighthearted. I don't know if that makes any sense. It was a fun read for me. Like, part of it was funny, and I just loved their back and forth banter and how they're both serial killers, but it's like for the good. That's basically what Butcher and Blackbird was. And then Leather and Lark, it's probably about one of their close friends or something, but I really enjoyed the first one, so I really think I'm gonna like this one as well. And while I was reading Butcher and Blackbird, I kept picking up on little hints of who was gonna be in the second book, and I got really excited for that, so definitely had to add that to the list. I think that's gonna be a really fun read this year. Next up, we have what is actually my current read that I'm reading right now, and that is The Striker by Anna Huang. You guys know I love Anna Huang. I've read all of the Twisted series, all of the Kings of Sins books that she's released so far, and then this is the first book in her, I forgot what the series is called, but it's the first book in her one that I think includes sports, which I'm always down for sports romance, okay? But yeah, our MMC in this book, his name is Asher Donovan. What really got me excited for this one is that throughout like her other series, we have heard his name brought up multiple times, and I've always been intrigued. I'm like, is he gonna get a book? Like, I want to hear about him, and we finally have a book about his story. Basically, Asher is a pro soccer player. They call it football in this book, but he's just finished out his first year on this specific team, and there is one guy on this team. They're kind of like big nemesis. I don't know if you could say they're teammates, but they always fight for like PR, and they're always going neck and neck in everything. The head coach ends up telling them, hey, during off season, you two need to work it out and fix up this problem because you are creating an issue for the team when you're both amazing players. So he tells the both of them that they need to do like specific training with a ballet instructor because that's really good for sports. Asher ends up having this little meet cute moment, I think, with this girl named Scarlett. He doesn't even realize that she is actually the ballet instructor teacher that he's gonna have all of their off season while he's training with this guy he really doesn't like. And then it gets a little worse when he realizes that Scarlett's brother is Vincent, his teammate that he hates. Yeah, so that's a little bit about that book. I'm enjoying it so far. I'm always gonna love an Anna Huang book. They're not perfect by any means. I know people are always complaining or they think she writes the same thing over and over. I will always read whatever she puts out because they're just fun and I always enjoy them. Okay, fifth book on this list is Shadow and Bone. This would actually not be on my list if it weren't for the fact that I think it's in a little trilogy or little series that comes before Six of Crows. I bought Six of Crows a little bit ago because I've seen it all over the place for so long. I've just never picked it up, but then I started realizing that there is a series that comes before, apparently. Nice to read that one first. The thing about me is if there is a series and there is only one detail I can gather from that series that will transfer into the next one and make it just a tiny bit better, I will read the whole series before that because I want to understand all I can possibly understand. So that's why I added Shadow and Bone. I want to read that series hopefully and then like move on to Six of Crows, and who knows, I might even enjoy that first series a bunch. But yeah, I don't know too much about it really. I just know that I want to read that in this series before I move on. Next up, I have Powerless, not by Lauren Roberts, although that is one of my favorite books to ever exist, but by Elsie Silver. This is the third book in the Chestnut Springs series. I absolutely ate up Flawless and Heartless. Heartless is one of my favorite books. I'm just excited to dive right back into that Chestnut Springs world and get back into the oh, I can't wait to be back with those boys. If you didn't know, the Chestnut Springs series is like a small town cowboy romance series. Those Eaton brothers are, whoo, they are good. They are good. And I've absolutely adored both of Elsie Silver's books. Also, I've been reading her other series, the one with Wild Love and Wild Eyes. Also love those as well. I have not read a book by her that I've rated under 4 stars. I love Elsie so much. I'm so excited for this one though, because I believe it's about the brother that plays hockey. I love a good hockey romance, and if Elsie Silver is gonna somehow like combine cowboy, Eaton brothers, Chestnut Springs with hockey, sign me up. I don't know why I haven't read that book yet, but I'm gonna read it this year. Next up is Beartown by Frederick Bachman. I've heard a lot about him during the end of 2024 when people's wrap-ups started coming out, or they started talking about books they enjoyed in the past year. I heard a lot of people talking about his books specifically, so I had to add one to my list for this year. I've heard that his books are literally life-changing to people, and they just really open up their eyes. This is about a town, or like a little community nestled deep in the forest. It's slowly losing ground to the encroaching trees, but down by the lake stands an old ice rink built generations ago by the working men who founded this town. And I think this is like about a story about how hockey kind of helps the town come together, or they have to go through some crazy struggles or something, and it kind of sits on the shoulders of the hockey team. That's really all I know going into this book. It sounds like a very simple plot line, but based off of every single review I've heard about his books, that is not going to be all there is to it. There's going to be a lot more, and I think this is one I'm going to really get emotionally connected with, which is recently something I have been yearning for in the books that I read. So I'm really excited for this one. I have a feeling he's going to become an author I just really connect with this year. Next up, I have The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. This has been on my TBR for an unhealthy amount of time. At this point, I think the reason I haven't read it is because I know this is a lot of people's favorite book in this trilogy, the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, but I finished Once Upon a Broken Heart so long ago, I barely remember what happened in it, and I feel like if I don't remember that, I'm not going to enjoy this one much at all. So yeah, that's a stupid excuse. I don't really know how to explain this book, but it is a fantasy. There is romance in it as well. This trilogy comes after the Caraval trilogy, which I absolutely loved, but the magic of that world and the scenes and the visuals that formed in my mind are something I'm probably never gonna forget. I just love that trilogy, and the way it made me feel was amazing, and Stephanie Garber did a great job with making that form so naturally and easily. So I'm excited to see how The Ballad of Never After turns out. I have no idea what it's about, and I really need to get like a major refresh on what happens in Once Upon a Broken Heart. So if anybody wants to like refresh me on that book, because I don't have like my copy with me. If you didn't know, I have to hide all my books from my parents, so like once I finish reading them, I really have to store them away, and I can't like bring them back out to read them more. So next up, I have The Serpent and the Wings of the Night. I don't know a single dang thing about this book. Do I deserve to be on here right now? How did this book make it on my list of top books I want to read this year when I don't even know what it's about? Next up is a book that one of you guys recommended to me on TikTok, and I just like, I started reading what it was about, and I was like, whoa, this sounds really cool and exciting. Definitely need to check it out, but it's called Ask for Andrea by Noelle W. E. Heel. I'll have to figure out how to pronounce the last name, but this is like a horror, I guess, horror mystery. It's about Megan, Breccia, and Sky, and they all have one thing in common. They have all been killed by the same man. Basically, he poses as a bachelor, and then he's all sweet, charming, and everything, and then he goes on dates and ends up killing the women, and all three of these women have been killed by him, and he's gone away with murder all three times. So those three women end up finding each other in their death, or whatever level they got kicked down to when he them. They join together, and they're like, yeah, so this isn't over. We're gonna get revenge on that. They won't rest until they find a way to stop him. The hunt is on. I just think that is such a cool and fun premise to a book, and I think that'll be a really fun and exciting, thrilling read. Next on this list is a very popular book that I have been recommended so many times now, and that is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I'm pretty sure this one has won a lot of awards and stuff like that. It's been at the top of a bunch of charts. I just haven't read it yet. Definitely want to read it this year. This is about two sisters, I believe. One of them's a writer. One of them, it says, is a literally nobody. Her name was Athena, and she was working on an experimental novel about the unsung contributions of Chinese laborers during World War I. She's working on that book when she ends up having a freak accident, and her sister sees this accident happen. I believe her sister's name is Juniper. She witnesses the death of her sister, and Juniper decides she's going to try to kind of go undercover and take on the role of her sister, and she tries to slowly rebrand it and go through that process. She's trying to claim this, even though it wasn't hers, since nobody knew her sister died, I guess. She's like, hey, I'm one of us too. It should work out that way. June can't get away from Athena's shadow, and emerging evidence threatens to bring June's stolen success down around her. Yeah, that's kind of the short premise of this book, but I have heard so many people love this. So many people have such high things to say about this one, so I 100% had to put it on the list for this year. Next up is another highly talked about book, and that is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I've also heard many praises about this one and about the author specifically. I'm really excited to read this one also because Steph Bohr is someone I have looked up to and watched for so long, and I think this is one of her favorite books. She loves this book so much, so if she loves it, I feel like I'm gonna really enjoy it as well. I've seen amazing quotes come out of this book, so I'm so excited. Connell and Marianne, I believe they meet in high school. It says they have a strange connection that grows between the two of them, one they are determined to conceal, and then later on they end up meeting in college. I think this is really just going to be about their story. They are both going through some heavy things. It kind of seems like self-destruction. Connell is just like really trying to figure out what he wants to do with his life. Each must confront how far they are willing to go to save the other. So I think it's just going to be a story about the two of them. Anytime I read a book description about two people and it kind of has the same vibe, it's kind of reminding me of Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow. It sounds so vague. Like, it just sounds kind of boring, and you're like, okay, the lives of these two people are probably gonna fall in love. Those are the ones that always end up hurting a deep part within my heart. So since this sounds exactly like that, I really have high hopes for this one, and I hope I absolutely love it. Why am I just now reading the description of this book and kind of understanding it for the first time? Next up on my list is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is another one I have just seen and heard of and just added it to the list of books I wanted to read. I just chose to like reread the description of it, and this sounds really good. It says, the life of a maiden is solitary, never to be touched, never to enjoy pleasure, just very confined. You do what you're supposed to do, waiting for her day of the ascension. And it says Poppy would rather be with the guards, fighting back the evil that took her family, instead of having to prepare to be found worthy by the gods. When Hawk, a golden-eyed guard honor bound to ensure her ascension, enters her life, destiny and duty become tangled with desire and need, and he incites anger, makes her question everything she believes. When they cause you to be mad, when they cause the anger to just truly flow out of you, that's gonna do it for me every time. If you can make me literally want to kill you, please marry me. Please marry me right now. We are meant to be together because I hate your guts. I hate you so much. I want you to die. Marry me, please. What sickness is that? Nobody wants that in their relationship, except it seems I actually do. It kind of looks like our main character is really struggling with her position, her power, with her family and whatever. And then this other hot guy who kind of is giving that he's on the opposite side, something like that, but it sounds really exciting. I have got to stop trying to explain fantasy books that I have no idea about because it's just not working. This is just not for me. Okay, moving on. There are only 2 more books left on this list. I had a total of 15. We have Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. I yesterday just finished The Nightingale and immediately knew I was gonna add at least one of her books to my 2025 TBR. I really don't know too much about Firefly Lane, but I have heard amazing reviews about it. I know Sarah Caroli read this in 2024. She absolutely loved it. I think it was like in her top 5 books. I ate up The Nightingale. I sobbed. Too soon. We're not gonna get into that right now, but Kristen Hanna knows how to write a book. Firefly Lane is about, I think it's these 2 girls who are best friends. They become neighbors when they're younger, and then basically it seems like it's just gonna be like a very emotional, crazy story about their lives and their friendship and their bonds and stuff like that. Once again, it's giving that type of book where it sounds kind of vague when you describe it and it seems like it's just about friendship, but friendship books can really if you know what I mean. It sounds like these two best friends are completely opposites. One of them sounds extremely driven, knows exactly what she wants is gonna work and put all her focus towards that one thing, and that's like her goal in life. And then the other just wants a very simple life. She wants to get married, have kids, be happy, have a home, live that life, but at the same time they are best friends. I'm so excited to read that book and that story and probably cry my ever loving heart out. And to wrap up my 2025 TBR and this video, I have Mile High by Liz Tom Ford. This is the first book in the Windy City series. I've heard a lot about this one as well. I can't remember if it's this first book or the second one. I think it might be this one that people hated. Like some people absolutely hated this book so much. They were like, this series is not for me. I'm not reading it. I believe as they continued on, it became their favorite series. I've heard a lot of people think that about this first book. However, I'm reading the premise of this book. It sounds like something I would love. This is about Xander's, who is a hockey player. He sounds very like narcissistic, kind of extremely annoying. He thinks he's such an F-boy. He's like, yeah, I'll just leave the game. New girl on my arm. I don't care. That's what I do. And it says, what I don't like is a new flight attendant on our team's private plane. She works for me, not the other way around. I'll be sure to remind her of that. And I can guarantee by the end of the season, she'll be begging to quit her job. I can tell he is going to tick her off. Stevie as a flight attendant thought she had seen it all until she got this specific position, and now she has to deal with Xander's and she absolutely hates him. But it says he's kind of tempting, blah blah blah, lines get blurred. You know that vibe. I've heard people hate this book. It's kind of giving something I would like. What does that say about me? We're not going to dive into that today, maybe for a different video. But yeah, that about wraps up my 2025 TBR. I'm so excited. So many fun books to read, so many worlds that are just undiscovered. I have no idea. I'm living in bliss right now. Isn't that crazy that those are all worlds I just haven't discovered? I have no idea what happens in any of those books right now. Wow, I'm so clueless. I'm gonna look back at this video at the end of this year and be like, ugh, I wish I could go back and like not know what was in those books. I love being a reader. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Please comment down below videos you want to see this year. I'm gonna try to stay more consistent. Let me know what type of reading vlogs, or so-and-so chooses what type of books I read. I don't know. Just comment what you want to see from me on here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to follow me on my other socials. They're all linked in the description. I love you guys so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.